And once again, good afternoon. John Verlin with On-Demand Advertising Solutions, another digital marketing update. Received an email from a gentleman named Robert in Lee Summit, Missouri. He is starting a new service business, apparently, and just asked me, said he had heard one of the older podcasts, kind of intrigued with what I was talking about, and just wanted some advice on marketing starting his new business. Well, first of all, Robert, thank you for the email, and I applaud you for thinking about this because it's really important. It's the most important operational concern you're going to have is your marketing. And I talked earlier on a couple of podcasts, there's a listing from the Association of Specialized and Cooperative Library Agencies that they've put together 30 most asked business questions for small business owners. And marketing is definitely one of them. And I'm going to kind of use that as a little guideline. These are 5 marketing things to know to help turbocharge your marketing for next year and in general for any small business, and particularly starting out like this. It's the most important operational concern, and I've talked about this in the past, why it surprises me how many small businesses don't actually have a marketing plan. They might have a general business plan, but according to some experts, there's 20% of small businesses are going to be working out of their homes, and it sounds like you might be doing that. So you need to take it seriously to a degree when you start investing money, obviously. It can't just be, quote, looked at as a hobby, and marketing is a big factor in all this. Okay, so marketing is more than just advertising or selling. It's involving researching your customers, for example. We've talked about doing surveys, gauging feedback from people you know. It's finding out what they want. What can they afford? What do they think? And your understanding and your application of the answers to those questions play a major role in the success or failure of your business. Now, I know a lot of times we have a gut instinct, but you can get feedback or answers by visiting everybody from a chamber of commerce, talking to those people, getting even a formal survey to possibly members of a church that might be a target group for your product or service. A small business development center. I know there's one at Johnson County Community College, and I believe there's one at UMKC that you could visit. Of course, they have classes you can take in business and starting small businesses, obviously, which would be helpful. You can go to an SBA office, by the way. Talk to a SCORE member, volunteers who have had experience in the marketing in a startup phase, and get in general about this. But I'm just going to go over these in general real quick here so you can kind of get an overview. But really, it's understanding a description of the item or service you're going to sell. Number 2 is the price, the amount you're going to charge for it. Promotion, the ways you want to inform the market as to who, what, and where you are. And the place, the distribution channel you're going to use to offer the product or service. Is it a website, a storefront, networking? I mean, how are you planning on offering your service? Are you creating an app? Or, defining those 4 areas. Now, the second part or second point is these principles of determining market share and market potential are the same for all geographic areas. And so you're wanting to determine, okay, I've got a service I want to offer, but what's my market potential? And again, this is where the feedback comes in of the typical customer is the who, and the geographic size is going to be, okay, how many are there of my prospects in the area? So in the Lee Summit area, let's say in 20, 30-mile radius of your service area, how many prospects do you think that would entail? What's the market size? And that's the general market potential. And then knowing the number and the strength of your competitors, and then estimating the share of business you're going to take from them, that's going to give you the market potential specific to your service or your business, okay? So now let's talk about your advertising and promotion. So you got to determine the market potential and the competition, okay? And then what percent do you think you're going to take from them, and how are you going to price it? All that's a part of this. We'll talk about that in a second. But your business growth is going to be influenced by how well you plan and execute your advertising program. And again, because it's the main or one of the main creators of your business's image, it needs to be well planned, thought out, and well budgeted. And again, we've talked about this in the past. That includes everything from your business cards, a shirt with a logo on it that you wear to networking events, let's say, your brochures, website, social media, platforms, posts, everything has to agree. It's the marketing chain. I mean, it's touch points. Every touch point with your prospect or customer or client has to agree with everything else, so they don't get confused. They can identify your brand based on all of these, I call it a marketing platform, you build out compared to your competition. It's what makes you stand out. It incorporates all of the imaging, and it has one voice. Okay, does that make sense? I'm trying to sort of summarize this. And how can they get your product or service? Is it on a website or calling you or, whatever that would be? They need to understand each part of this, of those four aspects. And the market potential, of course, is, okay, of the percent do you think is, let's say there's 3,000 small business owners that could use your service. Okay, of that percent, what do you think you can take from competitors? How many competitors are there? 20, 30, 100, 1,000? What percent can you take from them, and how are you going to do that? That's all part of the marketing plan, which is part of your business plan to determine these things. Now, how do you set price levels? Well, it's primarily based on production costs like direct materials, your labor, overhead, your utilities, taxes, insurance, general operating costs of the business attributed to the product or service. So if you think that your product will account for 10% of your business, then 10% of your overhead is assigned to it. So then do you charge 3 times that or 4 times that? And these costs are determined, I guess we call it a break-even cost, you factor into the profit you want. So if your break-even's, I want 10%, then maybe you charge 3 times that. Because pricing can be complicated, it's got to remain competitive. And, that's where this gets into your dollar value meal with McDonald's fighting Burger King and Wendy's. That's how sensitive price can be today with all the online platforms for getting service things done, your taxes, your everything practically. It's a make or break thing. And so you need to price your service proportionately to what the competition obviously is doing, but at the same time, you got to make money. Okay, and finally, you mentioned you might be working or you are working from your home. As I mentioned earlier, 20% of small businesses, according to some experts, are saying are working from their home, and that's probably going to continue to increase as more and more businesses, quote, downsize, machine learning, robots take over, et cetera, and people freelance. So these are some things just to consider. To be honest, a lot of this, and particularly, it sounds like you might be freelancing and starting small, not having a funding and all that sort of thing. You can once you get your plan, you're going to have to test. And again, it's coming down to getting feedback on how much demand there would be for your service, and then you can go to the library and do some research on market demographics to see how many businesses might be in the demographic, how many people, business owners might be, would a direct mail campaign to start out be appropriate? There's so many different ways to plan this, but getting feedback, I think, is the main thing from prospects and or other people who have had experience, whether it's a SBA or you go to a school that offers small business classes or talk to a local chamber. That would be my recommendation. And getting that feedback first, and then you can determine your pricing and what kind of marketing you want to do. John Verlin 1-2, thank you again, Robert, for that email, and I hope I kind of covered that. I know there's a lot there, but I think that might get you on the right road. John Verlin 1-2 at AT&T.net is the email. Email me with any questions or comments or thoughts. And OnDemandAdvertisingSolutions.com is the website, and we will talk to you again.